Hey, it's Fantasy Football Now, right now. I'm your host, Jeff Thidoff, doing this without Chad Rink tonight. Chad Rink, my normal co-host, but wanted to knock a quick one out for you tonight with some news from the NFL that will affect fantasy football. We are on Fantasy Stream Sports, powered by DSP Media. Follow me on Twitter at That Happens. Again, Chad Rink, my normal co-host. He'll be on next time with me. I just want to get a quick thing out there because Joe Mixon has agreed to restructure his deal to stay with the Bengals. So there was talk about Mixon, who had a non-guaranteed contract. I think the salary cap hit was going to be like $12.8 million. And there was talk about the Bengals cutting him if he wouldn't restructure it. He has chosen to restructure it. And so I'm not sure what the exact number is, but he's with the Bengals now. Again, he's 27 years old, and his best days, like most 27-year-old running backs, are behind him. He was ineffective for a good chunk of last year, down the stretch, certainly. Samaje Perine, who is now at the Denver Broncos, got a lot more time than I think people thought he would get in place of Joe Mixon throughout the season. Perine was great for the Bengals. He is now gone into Denver. And so you now have Mixon back on a restructured contract. He'll be there. I still love Chase Brown's long-term potential with the Bengals. He's the rookie running back out of Illinois who had a big year last year for the Fighting Illini, now with the Bengals. I still think he'll get a lot of carries as well. And keep in mind that Joe Mixon is still facing a charge. It's a misdemeanor menacing case that he has. Supposedly pointed a gun at a woman when he was driving, and so we'll see what happens on that. He did plead not guilty to one count of aggravated menacing back in April. The guy's had his legal problems throughout college and the NFL, but it was smart for him to restructure. He's still on the downward trend right now. 27-year-old running backs, they don't usually do great in the NFL. And I don't expect a huge year out of him. I think Chase Brown will get some love there. Still looking for running back homes. A lot of running back news because Dalvin Cook and Zeke Elliott both still out there looking for a deal. Dalvin Cook much more attractive than Zeke, but they both still are out there looking for work. They'll catch on somewhere, I'm sure. Saquon Barkley for the Giants, Josh Jacobs for the Raiders. They have not signed their franchise tag tenders yet. And Monday is the deadline to negotiate a deal with your teams. If you don't have a deal in place by Monday, then I think it's like Monday at 4 o'clock Eastern time or something like that, you can't sign a long-term deal with your team for the entire season. You will either play on the franchise tag or you won't play and get suspended or get fined and all that, like Le'Veon Bell did with the Steelers. But if you don't sign your franchise tag, if you don't have anything in place by Monday, then that's your contract for the season. Barkley and Jacobs both made comments about potentially holding out, not showing up to camp. They both want longer-term deals. Look, it's not the way of the NFL anymore. The NFL is going to continue to devalue and give running backs, that first contract, which is smart business. I've said all along, it's smart business for teams to just do the one contract with the running backs. Once you're past that 5-year thing, pick up the 4th-year option, pick up the 5th-year option, keep for 5 years, run them into the ground. I'm not saying it's right, but as far as I'm not saying it's something that's a nice thing to do. It's not saying it's a fair thing to do to the player, but it's smart business to do it that way. Don't sign running backs to second contracts. Zeke Elliott cost the Cowboys a lot of cap space his last couple years before they finally had to release him. Don't do it. Anyway, one other quick note I'll get to, and then I got to do a draft thing to talk to you about. But the Jets are on Hard Knocks. That's been announced. I know it's not necessarily fantasy football related. It's NFL related. It's fun. HBO Max, HBO does a great job on this. But the Jets are on Hard Knocks this year. And I looked at this. They have certain requirements for Hard Knocks. Now the league is forcing the Jets to do it. There are 4 teams that could be forced to do Hard Knocks this year. And sorry, I'm moving an animal here that climbed up on my table. But anyway, there are 4 teams that could have been forced this year to do it. The Lions, I believe not the Lions, but the Steelers. Let me try this again. It was Commanders, it was Bears, it was Jets, and another team. But anyway, the requirements are that you have not been 10 years of Hard Knocks. If you've not done it in the last 10 years, and you've missed the playoffs consecutive years, and you don't have a first-year coach coaching you, then you can be forced into Hard Knocks. That's what happened with the Jets. They missed the playoffs consecutive years. They have a coach who's not in his first year. And they haven't done the last 10 years. So the NFL, the Hard Knocks, NFL forced the Jets to be Hard Knocks. But think about this now. If these teams miss the playoffs but maintain their head coaches, these are teams that could be eligible for 2024, okay? The Patriots, how interesting would that be? If Belichick is still there, they missed the playoffs again. But this next one here is the one that I think is really interesting. If the Steelers, that's right, the Steelers. If the Steelers were to miss the playoffs this year, which is very possible in very tough AFC North, they could be selected, forced into it. The other teams are the Titans, the Broncos, Commanders, Bears, Packers. Another one would be interesting. Panthers, Saints, Falcons, Cardinals. Those are the ones that could be forced into doing Hard Knocks if their teams miss the playoffs. By the way, not sure when you're doing your draft. I always recommend do it as late as you can in the preseason. Do it right before the season starts. I always try to do mine after. It used to be after the third preseason game for my big money leagues, the ones I'm most invested in. That's when I normally try to do them, is after that third one. But now it's just 3 preseason games. You have to do the second one. I don't recommend doing drafts in July or early August. Wait as late as you possibly can. It should be easy now with how much everyone has access to, obviously, doing online drafting. I don't think a lot of people get together the way they used to. It used to be a huge deal to do it and, get a group of all your buddies. And you had a lot of pens and papers out there and things like that, or draft boards up on the walls. But wait as long as you can. Now, on top of that, if you are in need of help, if you're somebody who's a novice just getting into it, the shirt that I'm wearing, I don't know if you see Fantasy Draft Proxies, that's a website that you can hire people to draft for you or even run your team during the season if you're a novice at this. Most people listening to this probably are not novices, or you wouldn't spend your time listening to a fantasy football podcast. But if you're somebody who knows someone who's doing it for the first time and needs help, the Fantasy Draft Proxies, you can go in there and hire a fantasy football expert to do your draft for you anonymously. But there's a lot more information there at fantasydraftproxies.com. But make sure you follow me on Twitter. Like I say, Chad Rink, my partner in crime, will be here for the next one. But this has been Fantasy Football Now. Follow me on Twitter. I am at FitHappens. I'll answer any fantasy football questions you have on there. But this has been Fantasy Football Now on FanStream Sports, powered by DSP Media. Thanks so much, and talk to you again soon.